Hi, friends. Welcome back. So glad that you decided to come back and join me this week. Okay, I have something to ask you, and I want you to really sit with this for a second. When your life changed, whether it was your job ending, your kids leaving the house, your relationship shifting, or just this quiet feeling that something is off, did anyone actually tell you why you feel so lost? We vent to our friends. We say we feel stuck. We feel lost. They acknowledge those feelings. But does anybody dig in with you about why you're actually having those feelings? Not that you feel it, but why? Because I didn't know. And I wish someone had sat me down and explained it to me. So I'm going to tell you one of the things that stood out to me about my journey. I will tell you that for me, it looked like me standing in the middle of the cereal aisle at Publix for, I don't know, a solid 8, 10 minutes, just staring at the cereal, right? Like, I have a master's degree. I have 30 years of professional work experience. And I couldn't decide between Cheerios, Raisin Bran, or was I going to go rogue and get the Fruit Loops, which is really what I wanted, even though it was not what I needed. So, it doesn't have to be dramatic. It just, it doesn't have to be embarrassing. Although my cereal aisle story is a little embarrassing for me, but it didn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be anything huge. It can just be day to day life choices that seem harder to make. So here's what I know. You probably did not wake up one day and just feel lost for no reason at all, right? Something changed. Maybe it was big and obvious. Maybe it was a layoff, a retirement, empty nest syndrome, a divorce. Like it could be anything. Or maybe it was smaller and harder to explain. Just this slow creeping feeling that the life you built just really no longer fits you. And here's the confusing part. From the outside, everything might look totally fine. Maybe even it looks good, right? People are always looking, keeping up with the Joneses. Like their life looks pretty good over there. But you're feeling guilty, right? Because you're struggling. And you have a lot to be grateful for. You have a wonderful life, but yet you're still struggling. So, you're walking around, you're feeling like a stranger in your own skin. This is not a weakness. This is not ingratitude. This is something very specific happening, and it has a name. What's happening is called an identity gap. And here's what that means in real life. For most of us, our identity gets wrapped up in our roles, right? So I'm a nurse, I'm an accountant, I am John's mom. Those roles are not just what we do, but they become part of who we are. They tell us how to spend our time, they tell us where we belong. So when one of those roles changes or disappears, it doesn't just change your schedule, it changes your sense of self. And that's a much bigger deal than most people give it credit for. So after my layoff, I had the benefit of being off for the holidays. Happened right before Thanksgiving. We had a Thanksgiving trip planned. We went there, we came back, and then it was prep for Christmas. We had a Christmas trip planned, and then we're on into the new year. So a few weeks after the new year, this question showed up for me. It just popped into my mind and just would not leave, right? Who am I when I'm not that person anymore? Who am I when I'm not a corporate employee anymore? Who am I when I'm not a stay-at-home mom anymore? Whatever it is that resonates with you. And I couldn't answer it. And so the silence in my own head was honestly one of the strangest feelings I have ever had because my brain runs on overdrive. So to sit in the silence and the calm and just kind of wonder what's next was new for me. I tell you this because I do not want you to think the identity gap is a sign that you have not done enough work, that you've done something wrong, that you are not prepared, because it's not. It is what happens when a role that carried part of your identity disappears, whether that is a sudden disappearance or whether that is something that you've planned for. Maybe you've been planning for retirement and you retire, and for the first month it's heaven. And then the second month, you look at your calendar and you look at your schedule and you look at your to-do list and you're like, what do I do now? So however it came across to you, even when you think you're ready, even what you thought you were prepared for, and it still feels awkward, that's the identity gap. If you are feeling it right now, you are not broken. You are not falling apart, and you are definitely not alone. You're standing in this space between who you were and who you're becoming. And that space is very uncomfortable, but it is also where everything changes. So here's what I want you to do. Not a 30-step program, not a complete life overhaul, just one thing. Grab a piece of paper or open the notes app in your phone if you're more tech savvy than I am, and answer these 3 questions for me, okay? No one's grading you. No one's going to look at your answers. Please do this for yourself. It's a starting point. So, question 1, outside of your job and your family roles, what do you actually enjoy? And this is not, I play golf with my husband on the weekends, so I enjoy golf. This is that feeling that lights you up on the inside. That feeling that gets you excited and makes you feel motivated. That's what we're looking for here, okay? So what actually lights you up, even if it's just a little bit? All right, question 2, what did you love doing before life got so busy that you just stopped, right? Did you love to do puzzles? Did you love to read? Did you love to go on long runs? What is it that you loved doing before life got busy and in the way? Write that down. All right. Question 3, what is something someone has told you that you're great at that you've never really taken seriously, okay? So we all know our friends are like, oh, Jennifer's good at budgeting and John's good at problem solving, and, Mike is good at presenting and speaking in front of people. You notice things about others and you probably tell them what you notice they're good at. And I'm sure people have told you that. And you probably feel like it's not a big deal or it's not important because these are things that come naturally to you, right? They're not something you really had to learn and work hard at. They tend to be those things that come really natural for you. So that's what I want you to think about and write down under question 3, okay? So this is how you start to close the identity gap, by starting to remember who you actually are. And those 3 questions are not just random questions. They are pointing you towards something very specific. The parts of you that are still there underneath everything you have been carrying. I know it might feel simple, and maybe part of you is saying, Jennifer, my situation is so much more complicated than 3 questions and a piece of paper. And you know what? You're right. So we're going to get into all that. So just stay with me, okay? But every big shift starts with one small, honest moment. And this is yours today. So do the 3 questions. Come back next week. I will be here, okay? Drop a comment. Tell me this. Which one of those questions felt the hardest to answer? Just one comment. That's all I ask for. Because I read every single one of them and I will reply to you, okay? If this has helped you in any way, please consider subscribing, giving me a thumbs up. I will be back every week with a new video. I'm not going anywhere, and I hope you're not either. So keep going. Your next chapter is worth it.